Welcome, future doctors, to another episode of the Future Minority Doctor Podcast with Dr. Sulma
and Marina, where we bring you conversations to empower and inspire you to contribute to your community and the world by becoming a doctor.
All right. Hello again, future minority doctors. Thank you as always for joining us for another one of our episodes. Today, we thought it would be good to talk about a topic that affects a lot of us and sometimes can even turn us away from the pursuit of becoming a doctor. We will be discussing how to manage family and cultural expectations. So another cultural obstacle we face is a feeling of loss of identity or sense of self. So growing up in a low socioeconomic community a very diverse community, I grew up around a lot of other Latinos, Samoans, Blacks, and I even had friends that were Asian and white, but they also came from low socioeconomic backgrounds. I was at one point called a sellout simply because I was doing well academically, believe it or not. And this was by a family member too. So, for some reason, being academically successful is thought by some people or some even family members like myself to be seen as you think you're too good mentality or trying to be too white. I never thought that way though. In my mind, all I thought I was just being myself and getting good grades, and I wasn't changing who I was. My father actually once told my mom when I went off to college that his fear was that after I graduated college, he thought I was going to think I was way above them, above my own parents. And this is my father who became angry after finding out I would be moving out to go to college. He did not talk to me for a whole week and didn't even say goodbye when I moved out. However, what I can say, at least from my personal experience, is the day I graduated college was the happiest day for both of my parents, and even the one who gave me the silent treatment. My dad, I think, was telling everybody that just crossed this path that his daughter had graduated from college. Yet, this was the man who gave me the silent treatment when I left. So, a part of it, I think, it's
Aw,
just a
that's
cultural.
touching though. My parents never said anything bad. I mean, I think they were really proud of me on some level, but they kind of teased me sometimes when I would come back home, my brothers, especially just like, oh, you're like a Stanford student now, or what you mentioned about people thinking that you're becoming too white. I definitely felt
Mhm.
that too. And it's really hard because you're trying to straddle two worlds. Like, on the one hand, you're trying to be the person that you grew up as. You love your home culture, your food, your music, all of the stuff about your home you still love, and that's part of your identity. But when you go away to college, you're also trying to fit into a very, how should I say, a very white world, a very
Mhm.
middle class, upper class world. And so you have to learn how to fit in. But, we still are who we are. But I definitely felt that the straddling two worlds, the conflict of identity of like at home, I'm sort of one person who I really am, but I also have aspirations. And in college, I'm trying to fit in. So it can be really hard to, you know, make sense of your identity when you're doing that.
I remember having a friend in college who grew up in a community where many of his friends were selling drugs and he had become involved with it at one point. He had managed to get out of it and he went to college, which was great. And in our first year in college, he struggled with leaving that part of him behind. I remember him telling me that he felt like he was leaving his homies or his friends behind by moving up. And I mean, this guy was so smart too. And then understanding the sense of feeling that going to college felt like we were neglecting important people in our lives. I often told him that we were actually raising our community by getting an education and we would be able to go back and give back later on. He unfortunately, though, succumbed to his past lifestyle and he ended up dropping out of college our second year, and I never heard back from him again. And, I always wondered what happened to him. I mean, he was so smart in school. But, the struggle of self identity when we're trying to pursue a career, it is real. And the higher you accomplish, you can feel it more. Well, I'm here to tell you though that although you may experience these things and while you move up the economic ladder, who you are will always be there. I still speak Spanish every day. I still love going to Mexico to see my family. I still dance and listen to hip hop, R&B, banda, mariachi, cumbia, salsa, merengue. I even still listen to oldies because we grew up listening to oldies. And I still hang out with my
Uh-huh.
cousins, except during COVID, of course. But all my cousins who are all tatted up, that some of them have gone to jail for whatever it might have been, or they're recovering from alcoholism and drugs. I still see them and I still hang out with them. And I've never changed how I see or love my family I grew up with, regardless of their situation, because they're part of what makes me.
I think lots of us who grow up in a low socioeconomic setting and kind of move our way up in the world, we do what's called code switching. So when I was with my family and my cousins at a big family gathering or something, I adopted a certain way of speaking, a certain way of being. I would not talk about certain topics and I would
Hmm.
stick to certain topics that I knew were interesting to all of us together. Whereas if I was at a party at Stanford or in medical school, like, this is very different. The type of words I would use were different. The types of
Hmm.
things I would talk about were different. The way I carried myself was different. So we do this thing called code switching, where because we have to learn to fit into these multiple environments, we learn how to change ourselves and our way of being according to the environment we're in.
Yeah, and I think this code switching is a valuable tool when you become a doctor, and I think that's what can set you apart from other
Mm-hmm.
doctors because um, at least for me, but I think most of us use code switching with our patients. So as soon as we walk into that
Yeah.
exam room, and this is if you work with people from or with patients that are from underrepresented backgrounds or low socioeconomic, I code switch to their level because I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
And it allows this profound
Definitely.
connection with the kids and the families where I often get where they forget I'm their doctor and I can feel them talking to me like they're family and words come out that are not supposed to. And they're like, they stop themselves and they say, oops, I wasn't supposed to say that word. Sorry, I forgot I
Yeah.
was talking to you. But again, this is where this code switching is
Uh,
beneficial and why diversifying is so important
mm-hmm.
because we're better able to help the patients to take care of themselves. So just to bring up that point, that I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a good skill that we are able to have to be better doctors. I wanted to remind everyone, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You can go to www.futureminoritydoctor.com. Peace and love, y'all.
Bye.